Yeah, hi. This is the topic I want to be talking about today. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Anastasia. I work in Wrike. I have previously worked in some marvelous companies like Abby, Intel, and an alumni of MIPT. And I guess I will not be talking about Wrike as a company now since Anton introduced it perfectly. As he mentioned, if any of you are our trial users, we are super happy to chat just how your experience is. But these are some of the screens so that you can imagine, if you've never tried Wrike, what it looks like. And because this is a product management meetup, I want to talk first, give a brief intro of how our product and UX organization is built. I am saying product and UX because I think this is one of the important things about Wrike, that there's this partnership with like very, very strong focus on both. For each development team, we have a product manager and a UX designer, and across multiple teams, we also have product analysts, researchers, UX writers, and design technologists. So this is how we're packed. I guess this affects the way we work, and I thought this was like important context. So let's get down to it. I am going to be talking about research mistakes today. Those will be some real cases from my own experience, from the companies that I've worked with, of course, simplified and exaggerated and maybe changed a bit sometimes for the presentation purposes. We have these little eggs here because we will be having some Easter eggs in this presentation. There are a bunch of slides with like short, thought-provoking little questions. We're not going to be stopping too much on them, but we can discuss them in the hallways later on, or maybe you want to take them home and think about them later. So, and first research method I want to talk about is the surveys. I think this is used pretty widely, and I want to talk about a case from the very, very start of my career. I'm a junior product manager who doesn't know, I guess, anything from the real life of product managers, and I'm starting in Abby FineReader. Abby FineReader is a PDF tool to view, edit, and convert PDFs to other formats, to OCR, and it is a desktop application. So when people trial FineReader, they install it to their computer, and if they didn't like it, they uninstall it. And we had an uninstall survey that they could fill when they decided to leave. And the main audience of the survey were those trial users. So I was asked to create an uninstall survey for a new version of FineReader. And I've looked at some of the previous versions. I've looked at some of the examples from our competitors, and I came up with something like this. Again, of course, this is simplified, but like if they're uninstalling, means they're leaving our trial, they decided not to purchase. What didn't you like? Maybe it's speed, quality, UX, price, or something else. There was another section for like free form replies. Based on what you see, what would you say is wrong with this survey? No, it's a bit simplified. It's a bit simplified, yeah. Quality and UX, very broad things, yes. Anything else? Sorry? I don't ask what they like, okay. Maybe. Does the survey solve the purpose? This is a very, very good question. And there was one more answer. I'm just repeating to the microphone in case other people don't hear about the NPS, using NPS instead. And speed may be affected by the computer speed. Yeah. A lot of customers don't know what UX is, so they don't know how to answer. Okay, cool. Very, very good replies. Thank you. I am going to talk about NPS a bit later. Yeah, so with this survey, I came to my manager and to my mentor, and I said, well, this is what I want to propose. And they asked me, imagine that you run this survey, and in the end, you look at the answers. These are imaginary numbers. Let's say 45% said they didn't like speed, 30% said they didn't like quality, and so on. You can see it on the slide. The question is, if I am then a PM who wants to improve trial experience, based on these numbers, how do I act? You've said very, very right things about this is very broad. We don't know if 30% who didn't like the quality, is it the quality of the OCR recognition that it did? Is it the quality of like the software was crashing with bugs? Or is it something else? Maybe they didn't like actually the way they interacted with it, the UX of it, but they kind of thought this is the quality because just the tool was unexpected. So there are so many broad ways to interpret those questions, and there isn't really one to say what was like the most decisive factor. When people 90% price, I guess you will see it pretty much everywhere. If people decided not to go forward, they can as well check price because like, why not make it cheaper? And the freeform answer in the other section, this is really like a jewelry box with a lot of meaningful insights. But if we get thousands of feedback there, it's really hard to decipher. It's really hard to get answers from there on what are the actual things. There's a lot of noise. And while those things are quite useful because you're adding the ability to find something you didn't expect, at the same time, like maybe don't overuse it so that you do have the time to analyze it and it doesn't go to waste. On a very quick note about analyzing the other section and just freeform feedbacks, there's a super cool thing in Wrike. We're using AI to classify freeform feedbacks. Maybe catch someone. I know there's an MLPM here in the audience. Try to catch him and talk about it, or some other people. If you want to talk about ML and Wrike, maybe we'll cover it in some next meetups. But yeah, service. What would I suggest to do instead? Instead, I would suggest to work backwards. So I have my survey, and there was like a very good question about the purpose. What is the purpose of running this survey in the first place? And this is what I suggest to start with. Start with defining a goal and hypothesis that you have. Based on the goal and hypotheses, map how can those hypotheses being true or not true be measured in a survey. What are the things that you can actually ask that will be truthful? And based on that, construct the questions. So don't start constructing the questions right away. Start kind of working backwards. And I think a hack that really helped me here was imagine you already got the answers. What if they are this or that? You can go to different directions. What if they're very good? What if they're very bad? How do you act? If you know, if you understand that no matter what results you get, you don't know how to act, maybe change the way you're doing that survey. I think a better survey example was one we did in a startup I was working in, and the goal was to determine the share of the companies that have a problem and to see if that share is big enough for us to be interested to continue. The usual story startup where there's a technology but not the market problem, and we're trying to find what market problem does this technology solve. And the hypothesis was that more than 5% of the audience have that problem, and if it exists, then like we don't want to just ask, do you have this problem? Because if you ask, do you have a problem of not doing enough sports or not leading a healthy enough life, of course, a lot of people will say that if this is classic. So if it exists, they're looking for a solution for it. And that's why we were asking which of the following are inefficient for a bunch of different possible problems. And for that one specific, if they checked it, what have you done to solve that problem? That's how we would measure if we have enough traction here. What is wrong with NPS survey? I'm happy to chat about it. This is the Easter egg. I will move forward and we can keep that for, for the future. Usability testing is our second topic. I think this is also a super widely used research method that a lot of companies utilize for many purposes, and it's quite common. I want to talk, there are many mistakes you can make while doing usability testing. I want to talk about one specific. This is the question when you've done usability testing and someone asks, how many users face this problem? So imagine a very usual simple thing. You want to test how successful are users in creating a new account. Let's say creating a new account and reaching value consists of steps like create account, create first project, create work structure, and then interact with an advanced feature. Let's say it's automations. Let's say we do a usability test with 10 respondents. We make them go through all of those steps. And in the end, we prioritize fixing issues. that more people struggled with, just based on like how many users struggled with it. What can happen? What can go wrong? It's not a representative set. Yeah, there was an arm raised there. Very complicated user flow. Sorry?
You have a lot of tasks here to do.
A lot of things to do. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yep.
Maybe real life 10 users face problem on the first step. They just go away and don't need to fix the steps.
Yeah, if users face a problem on the first step, they will not continue on and they will go away, and we don't need to fix all of those other problems before we fix the first one. Exactly. If we do that and we actually go into fixing things where people struggle the most likely they struggle the most at the most advanced step. So if we do that, in the end, we would get a very like perfectly polished, complex steps that no one gets to because people just drop off earlier. And they are not interested to stay and get to that beautiful advanced step that everyone polished. Instead, it's very important. Someone said this is not a representative set. Usability testing is a quantitative research. You should not use quantitative research as qualitative research. Each person, if you have the right target audience in your test, each one person that you have represents a group of people that will struggle with that same problem like that one person did. So if you are unsure, maybe there was this one person who struggled, everyone else did good. And I understand the struggle when you want to, fix the most important things and maybe like dismiss that one. But like really, if you want to check that it is actual, that it's a problem that exists, combine multiple research methods, look at some stats to prove quantitatively if this is not important. Otherwise, this is quantitative, so keep it that way and understand that there will be more people who struggle with the same problems as that person from your test. The Easter egg question to think about when you're going home: why you shouldn't compare two versions of a product or a UI or something on usability tests to then choose which one of the two is better. Again, not telling answers now. Moving on to the third method, fake it till you make it. This is a story from when I was working in a startup, that same startup I told earlier. And as I said, we had a technology and like we didn't have a problem to solve with that technology. We were looking on what are the markets that we can go to. And there was one idea where we proved with Custav and desk research that the problem exists. And we decided, okay, we want to move fast. We want to be like the real startup. We're going to put together a sales deck and we're going to pitch this to potential buyers. We're going to draw up some mocks of a solution and we're going to talk to people. If we find 2-3 clients that agree to co-develop with us, then it means that it is a viable problem to solve because they're ready to invest their money and their time into building a solution with us, into finding something that is not yet ready. And the solution will already be better because it will be tailored to customers' needs instead of, us trying to do it in vacuum. We will have real test subjects always working with us. So what happened? We did some outreach. We had 3 companies that agreed for a call with our salesperson. One of them said that, no, actually, we don't have the problem. One says, I do have the problem. I really want to solve it. I am not convinced that you are the right people to do it. And the third company sounded all excited. They scheduled more calls. They invited more managers into those calls, which is usually a very good sign because they're ready to invest the expensive time of very busy people. But then Christmas came around and they sort of lost touch. So what is the next step? If we're this startup, what do we do? Mm-hmm. Okay, more respondents. Someone nodding to that. Money commitment. Yes, that's what we wanted. Yeah. That's what we wanted to get, but didn't. So like we went to 3 people to talk, but we didn't find them to, like, we didn't have anyone that would give us that money commitment. Give up. Okay, good option.
Do you know at least one company that has this problem? Because you came up with the idea of the startup. It seems like you had an idea from somewhere, so you might know the particular client, the particular company that has this problem. Maybe you can start with this, plus 30 plus interviews.
30 plus interviews and start with those where we already know the problem exists. Okay.
I would go to the second one and have a proof of concept. Like if I will solve your problem, let the try it.
Okay. Proof of concept with the second one for free. Any more options? Okay, let's move forward. I love that give up option, because really, like, what do we do? We don't know. Do we go for more respondents, like you said, where we don't have enough people that we talk to, or maybe we give up? And these are like the 2 polar decisions we can make. Does the problem exist? We sort of proved it, but maybe we were wrong. Like, it could have happened. Is our solution that we came up with and we put some mocks and we put it into the speech deck, is this the right solution to that problem that we validated? Is our messaging right? Maybe we are doing the right thing, but we are talking about it in the wrong way, or we are talking to the wrong persons. Is it because we're a startup? Because we were going for the higher end of the market with like larger companies, and for them, they're very risk averse. For them to work with startups is usually a big no, or a big risk at least. So maybe it's because we just don't have enough trust. Maybe we didn't go to the right segment. Maybe we didn't have enough calls. Like, we reached out to, I don't remember what was the reach out. I think that around like 10 companies at least replied to us. So we started the conversation, we went to the call. Is it enough? Is it, maybe if our segment is like 10%, maybe we need more, maybe we need 30 people that we reach out to. So it's, what do we change out of all of those things to get it right? Where do we work towards changing this thing? Or maybe we give up and we drop this idea. Not clear. So what I'm doing differently now is leave the least possible number of variables in an experiment. First, does the problem exist? Then does the solution fit the problem? And only then can we sell the solution. In real life, it doesn't happen really like stage gate. You still intersect a little bit, and you can always iterate, and you find more about the problem while you're testing the solution. You find more about both of those while you're selling. So it's not 100% just one after the other, but it's important not to try to squeeze them all into one research. And one more case to leave for discussions afterwards about this thing, about like moving one step at a time. There was once a startup that was doing that wanted to work in the zero code market, and I was mentoring them, and they didn't know what sort of problem they want to solve. They knew the market was kind of going and it was on the rise. They didn't know which specific segment they want to focus on and what should they do. But they had a more board marketing person who was like, I don't want to wait for you to validate the problem and specific segment. I want to just put together a landing page and start marketing it a little bit to see what we can get from it. Should they try to do that and, you know, spend some time and money on that marketing outreach, or not? Should they go more of like this stages one by one? I can tell you later what happened with them. I don't know the whole story, but yeah, this is a very, very interesting question, I think. And for me, this is it for my yes.
After you finish, please let me start the last question. I guess so.
Okay, cool. This is it for the mistake cases that I wanted to share with you. I'm sure I'm doing a lot more of them. These are the 3 that I really wanted to illustrate. I now suggest that we go to Slido. There's a QR code that you can scan or write the code. And let's see what other interesting research mistakes do you think that are worth sharing and that often happen in the market? And I think I need to activate. I think just while you're typing, maybe super classic one is when you want to validate a solution and instead you say, would you buy it? Would you buy it? Please, it's an amazing solution. Would you buy it? Everything is perfect. Thanks. Thank you. You're breathtaking. Focusing on solution, not on the customer problems. Salesperson do not know the product very well. Badly organized surveys with leading questions and no clear goal. I think that focusing on the solution is that like it's close to that thing when I say like, please buy it. It's a very good solution. Not thinking of the pains you are helping to solve. No action on research results. Wow, this is a very, very good one. I think this is probably also happening. Too much manual work and analysis of problems. True. Researcher fell in love with the problem hypotheses and isn't ready to admit there's no problem at all. Oh, wow. Very, very good. Having run a product research, but then never acting upon it. No research. Yeah, I think this is like the elephant in the room. Cool. Didn't think about it. No research is a very good research mistake. Make great survey, do nothing after. Yes. Respondents often want to be nice to you, so they lie. We need to keep it in mind. True. I've met it, especially when we have people who are not from product helping with product research to take notes or something. And then in the end, they would say, oh, they loved it so much because they were saying such nice things about them. And you're kind of like, no, relax. Biased because of product to be knowledge. Oh, this is a good one. So like you already have a picture of something you want to do in the future and you kind of are looking for validation of that. What else? Biased and groupthink, getting money from investors before actual plan, confirmation bias. Yes, survey questions are ambiguous, so you can tell if the problem exists. True. Wrong audience. Oh yes, wrong audience. True. Friends, Facebook friends. Deep diving into solution details, no focus on a high level problem. Push from the management to receive a necessary result. Oh, wow. I've never met it in real life, but I can imagine this would be a huge pain. While we were doing research, new issues and hypotheses appeared. I wonder if this is like research mistake or more of a good outcome of the research. Just need to be agile. My English is very help. Researches need to be done just to realize that everything is okay. Is it like when you like a company just does research because there's a cargo code, but then they do nothing with it? That's how I interpret. During UX testing, people always play a role of an expert, but not a respondent or a user. Yes, and like observed environment. You have people actually like they know that someone is observing and they need to do certain things and they need to be. I think like my favorite one with them, if you're testing a website and people start reading aloud to you, it's like you say, how would you explore this website sort of question? And they start reading aloud all of the small texts. And you're like, of course, I believe you would do it in real life. Small pool of B2B product users makes quantitative research useless. Yes, I've met this. This was very interesting. I was once giving a talk of how product management is done in ADB. And at the same lecture in the university, there was a speaker from Yandex browser who was doing a speak on how product management is done there. And it's so interesting how things are so different, because for them, it's easier just to develop something and do a small A/B test, where like 1% of users is enough to very fast get all of the metrics changed. For B2B, it's usually easier to do quantitative research, qualitative research. I'm very bad with these two words. Make a research on the one market and try to use it 100% on another. Yes, like the target audience question is that case as well. No user personas and use cases. During the UX test, you try to explain how to use the product or try to sell it. Yes. And why would you use this feature? Someone is very frustrated with that. But there's more coming. I think I will for now switch, and we're gonna add those to the slides so you can read later. I think there's enough topics for like 5 more meetups. Anton, you know what to do. Okay, to sum it up so that we don't stay just with like mistakes, don't do this, don't do that. What would be my recommendations for any experiment? I've told about it before today, but basically before you start your research, define your research goal, define your riskiest assumptions and hypotheses that you want to test. It is very important. It keeps you on the right tracks. It keeps you from losing time and effort spent into doing something that doesn't really answer your goals. And then you realize that you've spent weeks doing a lot of hard work, but you still don't know the answers to the questions that you had. After that, define your method and your prototype. And this is very important. First, define the goal and hypotheses, then define the method. Your goal is not to run a usability test. Your goal is not to run a survey. Your goal is to find something out. If a survey is a good way to find it out, then at this point, you understand that you want to run a survey. If customer interviews are a good way to do it, then you understand it after you formulated the goal and hypotheses. Same thing with the prototype. Maybe you can save yourself hours of effort by understanding that you can test it on a cheaper prototype and you don't need to do like a full-fledged solution before you can do first usability tests. Maybe you don't need to do any solution and you can just do a landing page that you design in one of the tools where you don't need a lot of people working on that, and you can just use a constructor. And one more thing, maybe it sounds super boring, but I think it's important to also define the way you want to protocol your results. And there was a message about that in the problems of like, you do research and then you do nothing with the results. And I think this is the point which maybe is not as exciting as all of the others, but when you pause and you define how you're going to be protocoling the results, it helps you do it while you're running the research. Instead of leaving it all to the end when it seems like an enormously huge weight to live and you really don't want to go and rewatch of all of the recordings or something. So it helps you get a better analysis. It helps you to stay in the end if you do a good protocol and analysis with that. It helps you avoid bias because you're a person, and then let's say you were doing customer interviews and you ran 10, 20. There was one day when you were fresh and energized and you remember everything from that interview. There was that other day when you were maybe not feeling as well. It was evening, you were tired, and you just forgot things that happened there just because you're a person and you get tired. Or maybe you had one where you were like so emotionally invested. Maybe just the person was very engaging and you remember insights from that one better just because of the bias, because it's okay that this happens. But then if you protocol and then you analyze, it's easier to make sure that you take everything into account. And one more thing about this boring step is that before even you start doing the research, you define the way you want to protocol. You define what dashboard you will build to analyze your A/B test results. You understand things that maybe you were missing from the goals and hypotheses or the method and the prototype that you were using. So it could be that you're thinking how you will build this dashboard or how you will protocol your customer interviews results or anything, and you understand that maybe this question is extra and it doesn't actually help you answer this hypothesis, or maybe that there is no question that helps to answer one of the hypotheses. So this is a boring but important step. And one last Easter egg for us is, does perfect research done with no mistakes, does it guarantee success? This is it from me today. Thank you.
Maybe you have questions.
There was one arm raised from.
I'm Arthur, FinTech Robotics. And first of all, thank you for sharing the ideas.
Thank you.
Second of all, thank you for the beer, because this is the beautiful combination we have right here. Please invite me over next time. The questions are basically, I have two. I don't mind.
Okay.
First of all, how do you understand that the survey is over here at Wrike, for example? I mean, is there a specific amount of users that need to be cast left, or is there a specific number of feedbacks, for example, that you are receiving, and then they understand it all over right now? And the second one is a little bit out of scope, but after the survey is over and you have a set of hypotheses, for example, how do you prioritize after the survey?
Thank you for the questions. So first question was, how do we understand that we have enough respondents on a survey, or there was also about customer interviews. So I think for qualitative methods where we have customer interviews, for example, there's a usual rule of when you start hearing the same things that you've already heard before and you stop getting new insights, you probably have done enough and can, work on those insights that you got for now. For qualitative methods, I think we use statistics. We have product analysts. If we want to run an A/B test, for example, we ask them, what is the audience that we should get, so that the difference, like let's say we expect we raise this metric 10%, what size of the audience do we need to get so that this is like we can calculate, we can catch that this is a statistically significant difference. For questionnaires specifically, like surveys, I haven't done one in Wrike, to be honest. I don't know if other teams maybe have done it. We do have some that are collected all of the time, like the just overall feedback for specific features in Assistant, or some beta features. I guess they're treated more of like qualitative inputs, because we look mostly at the free form comments. As I said, we have this thing that analyzes, or before we had it, because it's a new addition, we looked just through all of the comments. I know that we ran UMOOC surveys, which were also done, I guess, to be like statistically significant.
Okay.
And second question was?
About after the survey is over and you have a number of hypotheses after they are set up, how do you prioritize the hypothesis itself? I know it's a little bit out of scope, but it's really related to how do you prioritize.
Yeah. So I'm going to rephrase just to make sure you mean like any research, not just the surveys.
Any research, like after it's more about the prioritization than the.
Yes. So we've done the research. We have some insights, like some problems that we found. How do we prioritize? I guess it's a combination of things. It's what things do those problems, if you found some problems, affect? What metrics, what parts of the user journey, and we have just strategic goals on which ones do we want to focus on. It is the criticality, like maybe users have a very easy way to find, like on a second try, they find this thing, or maybe there's no way for them to do it at all, or they are like completely lost and don't understand how to achieve what they wanted to achieve. So there's this criticality for the user. There's obviously, when we have a solution in mind on how we want to fix it, there's obviously the cost. So a lot of factors go into play, and together, based on all of them, we choose the ones we want to fix first.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.